Hi there, my name is Aaron Short and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm talking about tone matching your acoustic guitar or electric guitar or any instrument using your DAW. So if you follow my channel, you know I'm very interested in improving the sound of the acoustic guitar, finding a great pickup and processing it the right way. I've covered so many pedals that do this with impulse responses and things like that. Recently, I'm really excited. I've discovered something that anyone can use to improve the sound of their guitar. And I think it works really, really well. I'm very excited about this, and I want to show you a snapshot of what I'm doing today. First of all, for this, you will need a microphone, a guitar, a cable, an interface, a computer on Logic Pro, or a DAW, all of these things. I know a lot of musicians have access to this or can gain access to it. And if you do have access to this equipment, you can do some really cool things. I'm actually planning on making a video on how to EQ for musicians, so do subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about that. I'm actually jumping ahead today and doing some pretty advanced EQing, but the computer is doing it for us, and that's the great thing here. So let me show you this new plugin I've purchased. You can use the built-in EQ in Logic Pro. Logic Pro is great because if you own a Mac, you can buy it for a very fair price for what it includes. But what I've found is that a lot of the plugins in there are not as good as dedicated plugins. Obviously, this EQ plugin I'm using today costs close to the full price of Logic in total. But you can use the built-in Logic EQ, and also Logic has a Tonematch EQ. It does exactly the same thing. I just happen to really like this FabFilter EQ. Let me show it to you. So this is it. I'll quickly just show you why this is so cool. It has many features as well as the Tonematch feature, which we're using today to correct our pickup. And you could even purchase this for a much more affordable price on the iPad, which is a great thing to know as well. So much we could cover here. I don't want this video to be too long. But yeah, this is a great plugin because look at this. I can just draw a frequency. I can actually solo it, so I can just listen to that one frequency. And I have all this control here, including the Q, a very narrow Q, which I find very useful. 30 dB of gain either way, which is more than most plugins have. And you can scan the frequency here. Like I said, when you find that frequency that's offending you or pleasing you, you can press on the headphones to hear that in isolation. Already, this plugin is worth its weight in gold. You can also keep adding bands to this. Look, you just keep adding and adding and adding. And unlike Logic, which is limited to a certain number of bands, you can just keep adding to this. You can do some real crazy EQs. You can choose the type of EQ curve. This really warrants a video all of its own, but this EQ plugin is second to none for me so far. But let's get into the tone matching feature, which this includes. What I did for this and what you'll need to do is first of all, plug in your guitar to your audio interface with a cable. That's your pickup. Now, I find the better the pickup, the better the results. Today, I'm using the Trance Amulet. I've recently got one in a Martin D28 from Maury's Music. He does a great install of the Trance, and you'll hear today it's a great sounding pickup. But with this modification, I feel it's even better, and I want to know your opinion, so do put them in the comments below, please. But this is what you do. You plug in the pickup direct and the microphone. Now, take some time here. Get the microphone sounding how you want. Maybe put some sheets up in the room so there's not reflections in there. Experiment with positions of the microphone. Find the best sound with headphones in that you possibly can, so you're happy with the sound you're getting from the mic. That's the sound I want to try to match. Then plug your pickup in, set everything flat maybe. Record the same piece of music at the same time. So create 2 tracks in Logic, arm them both. Just record some chords, finger picking, whatever you play, the things you play, just play them in. Get the levels as close as you can, nice and healthy, not too loud, don't clip anything, and just get 2 clean recordings simultaneously of your pickup and your mic. Let me show you my results right here. So this is the microphone that I recorded, no plugins, just the bare microphone. It sounds like this. That sounds pretty good, right? Now you could at this point EQ that. You could EQ that file and really take your time to get the exact sound that you want. I think you want to start with good sounds. That is a nice microphone. I got it in a good position. I'm happy with that sound. Maybe for live it's not cutting or bright enough, but as a recorded sound, I think that's really good. The next thing I did was to record the pickup. This is just the trance straight in. I think you'll agree it sounds good already because it's a soundboard transducer, a premium pickup with a really great sound that a lot of people love. And it sounds like this. Now, please listen with headphones. That is a great sounding pickup. I'm a big fan of the trance, but it still sounds like a pickup, a very, very good pickup, but it still sounds like a pickup. And there are some frequencies in there that I don't really want to hear. So anyway, now we're going to do the tone match. This is what you do, and I'll give you a full instruction guide here so you can follow along. Go to the pickup track and load in the plugin. I've already done this, but I'm going to just show you how I did it. Load up the Pro Q3. Again, an excellent plugin. I'm loading it in stereo. Okay, so what you do is you load this plugin on the pickup track. So I'm using the trance, but whatever pickup you use, this will work with. Obviously, all pickups will respond differently. The better your pickup sounds to start with, the better results you'll most likely get. But this is what you do. This is how you tone match it. I'll go through this in detail. So I'm just going to play the microphone, and that's my reference. So go to sidechain, audio, mic, audio 1. That is my reference track. That's what I want the pickup to sound like. Okay, that's sidechained in there. So it's going to listen to that sidechain when it figures it out. Then click down here on the analyzer. Make sure sidechain is selected. Now go to EQ match, and again, make sure external sidechain is connected. There's 2 record buttons. One on the left is for the input, like if you're playing live to get a tone match. We're not doing that. We're playing a recording, so I use the one on the right. And then we're going to play the track from the beginning, just the microphone. Now you can stop that wherever you like. You'll see it's figuring it out in real time, and you might want to experiment with that, but I just stopped it there, and I'll click on record. Now you can see what it's done. It's figured out what's going on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play, I'll just turn that sidechain off, and I'm going to play the pickup sound now, like this. Okay, and I'm going to click match. Now at this point, you have a slider. Now, if you take it down to 0, obviously there's no bands of EQ. You've just got your flat, regular sound. If you bring it up, you've got 1 band, and you can see what's happening here. It's doing a low cut, then it's doing a mid cut, then it's boosting something that we may not want. And if you keep going, you can have 24 bands of EQ. These are 24 changes to the sound. I want that because we can turn them off, which is great. Let me show you that. Click on finish. That is what it's figured out the differences are. Now, this is not as detailed as an IR. An IR might do this times thousands, okay? But I think this is enough to make a good pickup sound really good. And this is much more than I could do myself, or I'd have to spend hours doing this myself. This has just figured this out for me. It's really great. Now, like I said, the cool thing here is we can monitor and listen to these bands, and we can turn them off or turn them down or turn them up. There's so much flexibility here. Do take the time to tweak this for you. So let's take a listen to this through the pickup. And by the way, this was the mic. Pickup. I mean, you know, none of the IR pedals sound one-to-one like a microphone. This is pretty darn close. I'm really impressed with this. So let's tweak this. Let's listen to what it's actually done. Let's focus in on these points, which is another great thing about Pro Q3. So I'm going to play just the pickup and show you what these sound like in isolation. Here's this one. Nothing there, right? So in fact, we don't really need it. This one sounds like a bass guitar. Let's cut that frequency. Check out this one here. Now, that could be a problem on stage. That could cause feedback. You can either just turn it off, which is amazing, or you can click on it and turn the gain down. So maybe rather than 12, we have, I don't know, 4. And we can listen to the others too. Fine. Check out the ones that are boosted. Make sure there's nothing ugly that's been boosted here. Well, I'm pretty happy with that. So you can now tweak that tone match for you. Great. So you can enhance it if you want to. If you need to, you might not need to. But that's fantastic. So that is it. That is our new EQ curve. And I think you'll agree, compared to the regular pickup, that sounds incredible. Just one more time, I'll show you the mic, then the pickup, and then the mic with the matched EQ. Check it out. Here's the mic. Pickup only. Volumes aren't matched, but there's a clear difference, right? Let's do that again, but this time the pickup has the EQ match applied. It's so impressive. It's so good. And there's no weirdness. It's actually taken a great pickup and made it better. And of course, what you can now do is you can add another instance of Pro Q3, because you can run as many as your computer will allow you to, and then shape that tone again. So you can really, really make this what you want. I mean, I think it sounds great already, but you can either add more EQ bands manually to this one or load another instance of the plugin and do some more tweaking. You can really sit down for a day and make the ideal sound in your head if you want to. So this is great, right? I think this sounds fantastic. The question next is, how would you use this for a gig or for a live stream? You know, I find at a gig, you might not need any of this stuff, because at a gig, you want that cutting pickup sound. But for a live stream, I always want my guitar pick up the sound even better because I'm plugging in direct. Remember, there's no compression, delay, or reverb on here yet. This is just the raw signal with an EQ. This shows you the power of EQ. If you can handle EQ, you can pretty much do anything. Remember, this is 24 bands. What if we did another instance and did 50 bands and added? We can shape anything to be anything. It's so exciting, and it's really worth learning and studying EQ. So on to part 2. How do you use this live? Well, an IR, an impulse response, is basically thousands of points of EQ. Now this is a simple EQ, but a more detailed EQ than most of us have on our amp. Our amps have a bass, middle, treble, and presence if you're lucky, maybe parametric if you're lucky. This is 24 bands. So here are the options. First of all, you could carry your laptop with you and an interface and use your DAW live. Some people do that these days, and it's probably worth considering. But I know a lot of people want to travel light. So option 2 is the iPad. The iPad will load Pro EQ. So you could have done this on your iPad or import it into the app on the iPad. A great option. I know some people don't want to carry an iPad to a gig. Option 3 is to take this out as an IR and load it into a pedal that loads IRs. Well, what pedals load IRs? We're so spoiled now, aren't we? The Optima Air imports IRs and has EQ and reverb. The Fractal and the Kemper, these pedals, the new Quad Cortex will actually take this out. You can actually copy this with that pedal, and the Axe 3 as well by Fractal. But what I suggest today, and I'll put a link to this below in the description, an affiliate link, is the Line 6 HX Stomp. Look at the size of this. This will load this IR, and you can carry it around in this pedal. This also has more EQ, reverb, octave effects, a strobe tuner. It has balanced outputs if you use the stereo cable to an XLR connector. You can use it as a DI. This pedal is one of the best things that Line 6 makes. There's now an XL version as well with more switches if you want that. But this pedal is fantastic. So we can take this out and put it in here. So now I'll give you an overview of how I would do that. I'll also link below to Kookie's IR site where he also talks about that stuff as well. But let me show you how I got it out and put it into this pedal. So for this, I again used my interface. I actually used my Focusrite for no particular reason. I love the Apollo Twin X. I just used them both at the same time. And this is what I did as per Kookie's instructions. Thank you, Kookie. I should say there's many ways to create an impulse response. There's actually an impulse response utility program that comes with Logic and MainStage. But I like the method that Kookie showed me. Again, thanks, Kookie. I appreciate what you do. And I'm using that. I don't know. I just find it very simple. So basically, I created a track called Impulse. And this here is an impulse response. This is actually an impulse response that Kookie gave me. This will trigger the sound and then we'll capture it. So this is what it looks like. I know it looks really crazy here. I'll just zoom in so we can see it. So this is an impulse response. It's just a very, very short beep, little bleep. It's like when you do this and you capture the sound. That is capturing the characteristics of that EQ we created and then allowing us to use it and save it as an impulse response. So you load that in. I got this one from Kookie's website, which I'll link to below. In case that's not there for some reason, you can just find an impulse response trigger. And then what I did is I panned that to the left. I set the project as 48K. That's quite important. I made another empty track and panned it to the right. I routed from the output of the interface back into its input. So what's happening here is that the left output of the interface is going out and coming back in to here. So this was the input. So basically it's just playing it through itself. I then made sure the levels were similar and I pressed record so it would record itself. So basically the impulse went out of the computer, out of the left of the interface, back into the input, where I then recorded it onto a new track. Just make sure your levels are good and they're about the same and they're not clipping, of course, like we always do. And what that then gave me was this recording here, which you'll see, if you zoom right in, you can see it there as well. There it is on the screen. You want to cut it at the start, so there's no space at the start, otherwise you might get a little bit of latency. So get really close to it. And then the end doesn't really matter, but I did it about just this much here. And then save that as a 48 kilohertz WAV file. And that's it. And that is your impulse response. And then what I did was I just imported that into the HX Stomp and I played through it and it sounded the same as it did in the previous recording. And at that point, I then added some reverb, some EQ, and different things like that. And I was really, really happy with the sound of it. So I know this whole process sounds convoluted, pardon the pun. But trust me, if I can do this, you can do this. I'll link some resources below. And if there's any particular part of this you'd like me to go into in more detail, let me know and I'll cover it in a future video. So to finish up, let me show you what this sounds like when run through something like Helix Native or HX Stomp. You basically just load the plugin. I've imported the impulse response that I just created into the IR directory here. So you can see at the bottom, it's number 128. Then my presets are here. I'll do a new preset. You're going to add an impulse response, of course. That's what we need. And I'm going to select 2048. I don't find much difference here, but the larger the better, I guess. So I'll do that one. I'll scroll all the way along the end, and there it is. You'll notice when you load this on the HX Stomp or the Helix, it's -18. You might want to bring that up to 0. Okay, or as close as you can get to it. So that's it, basically. Let's try that. And now we have something where we can use this. We can take this with us in our Helix, our pedal. Remember, so many pedals load IRs now. Even your phone might be able to do this. But let's check this out. Let me turn this off and play you just the pickup again. Ready? This is the raw pickup with nothing. And here's the IR. And just to show you it's the same, here's the Pro Q that I used before. Turn it off and play the IR. You see, it's pretty much the same to my ears. So now I can take that with me on my little tiny HX Stomp, or you might even find a pedal smaller than this to carry around with you. But there's a lot of functionality in here. For example, we can do something like add reverb. So I'll go to reverb, because remember, the pickup doesn't pick up the room sound like the mic does. So why not add a room? And then turn the mix down. Check this out. Why not add something like a studio compressor, like the LA Studio comp? Why not add some delay to make it even bigger? Just a very quiet, fast delay down here, maybe. And then why not add something like another EQ, just a basic one. So if you're playing fingerstyle, you can have less bass, more treble, or if you're doing strumming, you have more bass, something like that. So you can save that as a snapshot or a preset and then use this on stage. So here's some examples. So, what did you think? I've got to tell you, I'm really, really happy with this. Yes, IRs are great. Of course, you should be using a microphone if you're streaming or recording. Even then, you probably need EQ and effects with it. But this Tonematch feature in this EQ plugin has got me so close to the mic and it's given me a very usable sound. That's the most important thing to me. This is my pickup, but better. Like I said, start with the pickup you love and that works for you, and then use this to enhance it. and it just cost me the price of the EQ plugin. Remember, Logic has this built in already. You don't need to buy anything. I think the Fab EQ really is fab. I think it's amazing, and all musicians should buy it. If you have a DAW, if you record, I think you should get it. It's incredible. But if you have Logic right now and some microphones and a guitar with a pickup, you can try this right now. It won't cost you anything. I just think there's a lot of musicians out there now that have IR loading pedals like a Helix, that have Logic or a DAW, that could be making their own Tonematch sounds. Why not do it? And remember, this is not just for acoustic guitar. You can do this with anything. People use this to mix and master songs. You could use this on a piano. You can use this on anything. It's not just acoustic guitar. You can use this for your mixers, for other instruments, even like electric guitar IRs. You could import an electric guitar impulse response and re-EQ it or make it closer to something else and then export it again. Last year I reviewed a pedal by Nuix. It was great, but it has no amps in, but it has impulse responses, and they sound too dark at low volumes. Well, with this, you could import an impulse response from there, brighten it up to where you want it to be for the volume of playing that you're doing, and then put it back in again. This plugin is very, very powerful. EQ is very, very powerful. And if you're not using EQ regularly now, I think you should look into it. It's so powerful. Like I said, I'll have more videos on this in the future. I kind of jumped straight to the end of this, but I'm so excited by it. And I know there's musicians out there that can make great use of this technology. And I haven't seen many people doing this with acoustic guitar. I think this is fantastic. Let me know in the comments below if you agree. Subscribe for more content like this in the future, and press the like button if you found this useful. Until next time, enjoy your EQ plugins, and I'll see you in the next video.